Do you believe that a simple hospital visit could lead to your deportation from the United States? That even while you're praying in church, someone might knock on your door and take you away? No warning, no explanation. In 2025, as immigration policies in the U.S. tighten once more, countless Filipinos living and working legally suddenly find themselves at risk of deportation without even knowing what went wrong. The most heartbreaking part, it's not happening at the border or in prisons. It's happening in the very places you thought were the safest: your home, a hospital, a church, even at a neighborhood picnic. In today's video, we're taking you to 10 U.S. cities where Filipinos are being quietly deported. If you or your loved ones live in the U.S., don't click away, because understanding this today might save you from an irreversible mistake tomorrow. Let's begin. Number 10, Houston, Texas. What if the information you gave during a routine medical checkup became the lead that triggered an immigration investigation? With over 140,000 Filipinos living and working in Texas, Pew Research 2024, the state offers affordable living costs, a large Asian community, and constant demand for healthcare workers. But since 2025, things have quietly shifted. Houston expanded a data-sharing program between more than 60 community health centers and ICE. That means your medical visit details, address, phone number, aid applications can now be used as immigration evidence. Rowena, a Filipino caregiver who had lived in Houston for over 7 years, went in for back pain. She listed her new address, having just moved in with a roommate to save money. Unbeknownst to her, that roommate was under investigation for tax fraud. 3 days later at 6 a.m., ICE knocked. No sirens, no warning. 15 minutes later, she was gone, leaving behind an unopened breakfast bag and a patient shift with no one to cover. In Houston, what's scary isn't what you did wrong, it's how the system links you to hidden risks. One wrong detail, one sketchy roommate, or a misstep on a benefit form could flag your file. Filipinos, known for being kind, law-abiding, and quiet, often have no legal representation, making them the easiest targets. No resistance, no noise, processed quickly. If you're in Houston, double-check your documents, addresses, and past declarations, because sometimes one tiny mistake could end your entire journey. Number 9, Chicago, Illinois. In Chicago, deportations happen quietly. No sirens, no warnings. It might begin with something trivial, a misdelivered letter, outdated info, or a missed call, and then vanished without a trace or a warning. Over 45,000 Filipinos live here, mostly in Albany Park and West Ridge neighborhoods, known for affordable rent and tight communities. Many came as students on F1 visas. After COVID, some schools closed, others spiked tuition. They stayed, applied for extensions, believing they were still legal. But in Chicago, ICE doesn't chase. They receive data from migrant aid groups, shelters, community centers, places Filipinos turn to during hardship. One mismatch in ID or birth date across forms is enough to open an investigation. Paulo, a biomedical student from Pampanga, studied at a university that later shut down. His visa expired. He stayed working at a printer shop to send money home. One day he applied for housing help, providing honest details. 2 weeks later, ICE came during his lunch break. No shouting, no why. He quietly packed his bag and disappeared. Filipinos here rarely question, sue, or raise their voice. They believe being good is enough. But here, silence is a weakness. When the system wants quick resolutions, they're the first names picked. The saddest part, most don't even know they're illegal until it's too late to fix it. Number 8. San Francisco, California. I used to think living with a few others wasn't a big deal. As long as we paid rent on time, caused no trouble, and didn't owe anyone money, we'd be fine. I never imagined that co-living would be the reason I had to leave America. That's what Mylene, a woman from Davao working at a laundromat in San Francisco's Excelsior neighborhood, shared. She lived with her sister and 2 friends in a 2-bedroom apartment, 4 people sharing rent, meals, and a modest American dream. Then their landlord asked them to leave so he could raise the rent. They refused because their lease was still valid. In retaliation, the landlord filed a civil complaint accusing them of over-occupancy, causing noise, and worse. He submitted allegations questioning each tenant's immigration status. In San Francisco, all property dispute records, no matter how minorary, stored and linked to federal databases. 2 weeks after the complaint was filed, ICE arrived. No resistance. No arguments. But only one person in the group had valid papers. Mylene was ordered to leave the U.S. within 30 days. San Francisco used to be seen as a progressive, immigrant-friendly city, but that doesn't mean safety. The system here is automated, precise, and cold. You don't need to break immigration law. Just being listed in a civil dispute file is enough for the machine to take over. Filipinos often live together, not because they're undocumented, but because the cost of living is sky high. Rent here averages over $2,500 last month, about 135,000 pesos. They're just trying to live decently, but the system doesn't care about that. Sometimes one complaint from a landlord can cost you everything. Number 7, Dallas, Texas. Dallas was once a dreamland for many Filipinos, home to numerous nursing homes, rehab centers, and private hospitals, places that always need dedicated, hardworking staff. Many came from Bohol, Cebu, or Davao and built a steady, tight-knit community. No dreams of riches, just a steady job, a stable home, and enough money to send back to their families. But in 2025, things began to unravel, not because of new laws, but due to a legal gap that many didn't even know existed. Many arrived on H-1B visas meant for high-skilled professionals or J-1 visas for interns, but due to real-world demands, they were placed in jobs unrelated to their visa description. Some were promised sponsorships, but never realized their paperwork was never properly filed. Take Annalyn, for example. A nurse from Nueva Ecija, she worked at a home care facility on the outskirts of Dallas. Her contract said temporary, but she worked full-time for 2 years, 6 days a week, caring for 7 regular patients. When ICE audited the facility, her name wasn't in the official records. Her visa had expired the previous year. That alone was enough for her to be summoned in Dallas. The danger isn't in intentional wrongdoing, it's thinking you're legal, when technically you're not. A professional license isn't a visa, a tax ID isn't a green card, and a work contract without properly filed documentation is just a worthless piece of paper. Filipinos here still work hard daily, still wear their nurse uniforms, and still smile at patients. But behind that smile is a silent fear. Could today be the last shift before ICE calls your name? Number 6. New York City, New York. It was a Saturday morning at the Filipino Spring Festival. Red, white, and blue flags fluttered. Tagalog rang through upbeat music. Daniela, caregiver from Bulacan, stood at the food booth holding a box of pancit and chatting with fellow kababayans. That moment lasted exactly 42 seconds, captured by public surveillance from 3 angles. 3 days later, during rush hour at the Jackson Heights subway station, Daniel was stopped while scanning his Metro card. An ICE officer called his name. No yelling, no sirens, just a quiet request to clarify his documents. Daniel didn't know that ICE's facial recognition system had matched his movements to footage from the festival. One small error in his family reunification papers. A missing notarized birth certificate copy had put his case on hold. That alone was enough for the system to flag him. New York used to feel like a safe haven for Filipinos. In Queens, the Bronx, Manhattan, you'd find grocery stores in your native language, Tagalog church services, tight-knit communities. They lived well, worked hard, and followed the rules. But that meant they had no time to review their immigration status weekly or money to hire lawyers to monitor every step. Since 2025, ICE has used AI-driven systems in New York to track immigrant behavior. Facial recognition cameras, journey mapping, and data from public events work together. You don't need to be guilty, just not fully compliant at the wrong time when the system wants quick results. In a city that never stops moving, a single typo in your file or one missing stamp can be the moment everything ends. The trap isn't in what you did, it's in what you never knew was watching you. Number 5, Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles, the city of lights, film sets, and dreams that start from nothing. For many Filipinos, this isn't just a place, it's a promise. Sunday Tagalog masses, turo-turo joints at every corner. Neighbors from Pampanga, Ilocos, Mindanao. Many have called Los Angeles home for decades. They work hard, pay taxes, send money home monthly, and believe their immigration petitions will eventually be approved. It's just a matter of time. But in 2025, a federal mandate shook thousands unexpectedly. Immigration courts were ordered to resolve all pending cases within 6 months. This meant incomplete files, outdated evidence, or missing updates would be reopened and rapidly denied, sometimes without the petitioner even present. Renato, who lived in Los Angeles for nearly 14 years, was one such case. His asylum application had been preliminarily accepted in 2012, but delays caused by understaffed courts left his case in limbo for almost a decade. During that time, he worked legally, had a tax ID, and never broke any laws. Then in early 2025, he was arrested at work. His co-workers were stunned. His boss had no idea. But the deportation order had been signed a week earlier. Life in Los Angeles goes on. Adults work, kids go to school, community events continue. But behind that routine are silent decisions, processed quickly, judged swiftly, and enforced immediately. If you or someone you know lives here, don't be complacent. Check your status, update your papers, and most importantly, don't let a decade of waiting end in an hour without you even knowing. Number 4, San Diego, California. In early 2025, ICE knocked on a door in Chula Vista, a quiet neighborhood in southern San Diego. Rosario, a woman from Laguna, was told to pack her things within 30 minutes. No explanation, no lawyer, no chance to delay. This wasn't a dystopian tale. This is real life in San Diego, considered a borderland paradise for Filipinos. Rosario had been in the U.S. for over 11 years. Her husband held a green card. Their 2 children were U.S. citizens. Her petition to adjust status had been filed since 2019, but one minor detail was overlooked. Her Philippine birth certificate wasn't properly notarized, so in 2024 her petition was rejected. She never received any notice, no email, no reminder. And when ICE came, it was already too late. Her family, just one step away from legal unity, was torn apart in what should have been their safe space. San Diego is now a testing ground for new border control technologies, facial scanners at checkpoints. Real-time data from welfare departments, ICE's auto-sorting system can flag irregularities in thousands of cases in minutes. This makes minor oversights like Rosario's extremely vulnerable. The system doesn't care about your family. It only looks at your file, complete or incomplete. And for many Filipinos who follow rules, trust in fairness, the real pain isn't deportation itself. It's being forced out without even getting to say goodbye. If you live in San Diego, recheck every document. Don't assume filed means finished, because one missing notarization might be the reason you never get to come home again. Number 3, Phoenix, Arizona. In Filipino culture, the church is just a place of worship. It's a refuge. The last sanctuary a family turns to when they have nowhere else to go, hoping to stay together even just one more day. Erwin's family lived like that for almost a year. He, his wife, and their young son with a congenital heart condition stayed within the grounds of a Catholic church in Phoenix. They didn't go outside. They avoided strangers. All they had were prayers and hope that their humanitarian deportation delay request would be approved. They never caused trouble. They had no debts. They broke no laws. One Sunday morning after Mass, while churchgoers were still chatting in the hallway, ICE agents entered from the back. No warrant, no notice under Arizona's new state law. ICE was allowed to enter religious spaces on grounds of reasonable suspicion of immigration violations. Erwin was taken right there. His son fainted in shock. The congregation stood frozen, unable to believe that such a thing could happen in the very place they believed was most sacred. And Erwin's case wasn't the only one Phoenix used to be the last safe haven for many undocumented Filipinos. They hid in churches, trusting that faith would protect them. But now, with changing laws, even churches are no longer safe zones. What hurts the most isn't being deported. It's the sense of betrayal from a place once seen as a symbol of hope. If you're relying on a religious community to shield you in the U.S., be careful. The law no longer spares sacred ground. And when the system no longer honors your faith, the only protection left is accurate information and early preparation. Number 2, Miami, Florida. It all started with a typo in a contract, AB1 instead of C1D, a line that read permanent staff instead of temporary worker, a blurry copy missing a date, seemingly minor details. But to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's screening system, that's enough to flag an entire list of people. And when that list goes to ICE, every name on it, intentional or not, becomes under investigation. Noel, a sous chef on a Caribbean cruise ship, was one of them. He worked 12-hour days to support his wife and son back home. He'd never overstayed a visa or received a single violation, but he signed his contract through a third-party agency, one that was under investigation for documentation fraud. When ICE arrived in Miami, they didn't check each person, they just took the list. And even though Noel knew nothing about the agency's issues, he was still ordered to leave the U.S. within 10 days. In Miami, most Filipinos work in tourism restaurants and cruise lines. They work night shifts, day shifts, often both. They rarely have time to review every line in the papers they sign. They trust the agency, the referrer, and the job. But that trust, when misplaced, becomes a fatal weakness. The problem in Miami isn't about who's right or wrong. It's that the system doesn't wait for your explanation. It processes by group, by file, by list. If your name is on that list, you get swept away, even if you have no idea why. Don't let a typo from the past be the reason you never see your family again. Number 1, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. doesn't have the biggest Filipino community, no monthly Tagalog festivals, no turo shops on every corner. But it's where the biggest decisions are made and where experimental policies can change thousands of lives in an instant. In 2025, the U.S. government rolled out a new AI-driven immigration screening system. No need for tips, no warnings. It scans old records, flags irregularities, and automatically places cases under reevaluation. Christy, an ESL teacher from Cebu, had a valid H-1B visa through 2026. Her teaching contract was active, no violations. But while scanning her file, the system flagged her sponsoring agency for having a vague job description. Just one line. A technical detail. Her visa was automatically suspended. She only found out at the airport while preparing to travel for a federal training event. Her passport was valid. Her documents are complete. But her deportation order had already been signed. Within 48 hours, she had to leave the country where she'd taught for 7 years. In Washington, D.C., you don't need an expired visa to be deported. You just need to be filtered by a machine without empathy. This system is now expanding. It analyzes tax records, medical files, work logs, even online check-ins. And Filipinos, who are often quiet, cooperative, and respectful, are seen as the ideal test group for rapid processing. Are you sure your documents valid in 2024 are still valid today? Have you rechecked your visa extensions and contracts since the new laws took effect? Don't wait until you're evaluated by a machine, because by then there'll be no one left to hear your side. So we've just gone through 10 cities, each with a different story, but all sharing the same underlying fear. And the most painful truth is, most of the people taken away were completely unprepared. They had no chance to say goodbye, no time to warn their families, no opportunity to fix anything. If you're living in the U.S. or have loved ones working abroad, don't wait until your name shows up on a trial processing list. Double-check all your documents, visa extensions, work contracts, and personal information. Stay alert to even the smallest legal changes, especially in the city you live in. And if you've ever faced a similar situation, share your story below. Because of your experience, might help someone else avoid a mistake they can never undo. If you found this video important, hit like, share it with the community, and subscribe to Bizarre World Adventures so you don't miss real stories about the Filipino experience around the world, because sometimes just one click on share could save an entire family from falling apart.